The LA Clippers just made the most controversial move in recent NBA history, and nobody's talking about it. While other teams chase young talent, the Clippers did something so bold, so risky, that fans started calling them Uncle Nation. They didn't just sign aging superstars, they built an entire championship strategy around players who should probably be thinking about retirement. The oldest, 40. And at the center of this madness sits one man whose knees hold the key to either the greatest comeback story or the most expensive failure in basketball history. What the Clippers are attempting has never been done before. They're betting everything on the idea that experience trumps youth, that wisdom can overcome fragile bones, and that one injury-prone superstar can somehow stay healthy long enough to justify a billion-dollar gamble. The question isn't whether this will work, it's whether we're about to witness basketball genius or watch a franchise crumble under the weight of its own desperation. The term Uncle Nation didn't come from some marketing department. It emerged from shocked fans watching their team transform into something unprecedented during the 2024 free agency period. While teams like the Thunder and Magic stockpiled young talent, the Clippers went full geriatric ward. Bradley Beal at 32, Chris Paul at 40. Brook Lopez in his late 30s. Suddenly, the Clippers weren't just old, they were ancient by NBA standards. This wasn't some accident or budget move. The Clippers deliberately pursued every aging superstar they could find, creating a roster where basketball wisdom meets creaking joints. The strategy was clear: championship experience matters more than athletic prime. These weren't just signings, they were statements. The Clippers were telling the world that they'd rather have 5 players who knew how to win in June than 5 players who could run fast in October. But Uncle Nation represents something deeper than roster construction. It reveals a franchise's desperate acknowledgement that their championship window isn't just closing bigs, it's practically slammed shut. With Kawhi Leonard's injury history and James Harden aging before our eyes, the Clippers realized they couldn't wait for development or perfect health. They needed veterans who could step up when stars went down. Players who understood that regular season games don't matter if you can't perform when everything's on the line. But that wasn't all. The elephant in every Clippers conversation isn't their age, it's their best player's inability to stay on the court when it matters most. Kawhi Leonard's injury curse has become the stuff of legend and not the good kind. For 3 consecutive years, March and April have become Kawhi's disappearing act. Just when playoff intensity ramps up, when every possession matters, Leonard's body betrays him again. The pattern is eerily consistent. October arrives. Kawhi looks healthy, dominant even. He'll put up incredible numbers through the winter months, reminding everyone why he's considered one of the greatest two-way players ever. Then March hits like clockwork, and suddenly there are whispers about knee soreness, load management protocols, and mysterious medical consultations. By April, when championships are decided, Kawhi Leonard becomes a ghost haunting the Clippers' title hopes. Last season offered a cruel twist of hope. Leonard actually started the season injured, which meant when March arrived, he was finally getting healthy instead of breaking down. He managed to play deep into the playoffs, giving Clippers fans their first taste of what this team could look like with their superstar available. But that brief glimpse only made the historical pattern more painful. 3 years of March disappearances, 3 years of championship dreams dying with Kawhi's knees. The medical mystery surrounding Leonard's condition adds another layer of uncertainty. Reports of undisclosed procedures, experimental treatments, and even legal disputes with former trainers paint a picture of a superstar's body in constant rebellion. The Clippers aren't just managing a player, they're managing a medical enigma whose solution might not exist. And then things got more complicated. The Clippers recognized that their championship dreams couldn't survive another season of scheduling disadvantages and second-class treatment. For years, they'd been the Lakers' tenants, forced to accept whatever schedule scraps remained after their more successful roommates claimed the prime spots. This meant brutal January through April stretches where the Clippers played the league's most difficult schedule precisely when they needed to be peaking for the playoffs. The solution was as expensive as it was obvious: build their own arena. The Clippers didn't just want a new home, they needed control over their own destiny. No more playing second fiddle to Lakers' scheduling priorities, no more cramming games into impossible timeframes because they had no leverage. The new arena represented freedom from the structural disadvantages that had plagued their playoff preparations for decades. This billion-dollar investment wasn't just about luxury or branding. It was specifically designed to maximize Kawhi Leonard's health and availability. Better scheduling meant more rest between games. Home court control meant optimal game times and travel arrangements. The arena became the most expensive piece of load management equipment in sports history. built around one man's fragile knees and championship aspirations. But the arena was just the beginning of the Clippers' elaborate health preservation strategy. They implemented load management protocols that border on the obsessive. No back-to-back games for Kawhi, regardless of circumstances. Minutes restrictions that sometimes pulled him from crucial moments. Pre-planned rest days scheduled months in advance, treating Leonard's body like a precision instrument that required constant maintenance. The franchise added reliable defenders specifically to reduce Leonard's workload. If other players could handle more defensive responsibilities, maybe Kawhi's knees could survive until June. They hired additional medical staff, invested in cutting-edge recovery technology, and created practice schedules designed around one player's physical limitations. The entire organization restructured itself to serve Leonard's health needs. This wasn't just player management, it was organizational desperation disguised as medical science. The Clippers had essentially admitted that their championship hopes depended entirely on keeping one injury-prone player healthy for 6 months. Every decision, every investment, every strategic choice filtered through the same question: will this help Kawhi's knees survive another playoff run? What happened next shocked everyone in basketball circles. Bradley Beal, coming off a massive contract extension and multiple All-Star appearances, agreed to join the Clippers for a fraction of his market value. The three-time All-Star didn't just take a pay cut, he accepted a role that would have been unthinkable just months earlier. The plan wasn't to make Beal another superstar starter. Instead, the Clippers proposed something revolutionary: turn one of the league's premier scorers into the most expensive sixth man in NBA history. Beal would come off the bench, providing instant offense while managing his own injury concerns. This wasn't just roster construction, it was an admission that traditional basketball hierarchy meant nothing compared to health preservation. Beal's injury history made this decision even more intriguing. Like Leonard, he'd struggled to stay healthy during crucial stretches, missing significant time in each of the previous 4 seasons. Rather than pretend this wasn't a problem, the Clippers embraced it. If Beal was going to miss games anyway, better to have him miss them as a bench player who could be easily replaced than as a starter whose absence derailed entire game plans. The strategy revealed the Clippers' new philosophy: championship teams aren't built around perfect health. They're built around managing inevitable injuries. By making Beal a bench player, they created depth that could survive the medical disasters that had destroyed previous seasons. But that wasn't the most surprising reunion. Chris Paul's return to Los Angeles at age 40 represented something deeper than nostalgia. The point guard, now in his 21st NBA season, came back to the franchise where he'd first established himself as a championship-caliber leader. But this wasn't the Chris Paul of Lob City fame. This was a player accepting his mortality while refusing to surrender his dreams. At 40, Paul knew his role would be different. Minutes restrictions, backup duties, reduced responsibilities, all the indignities that come with aging in a young man's game. Yet he chose the Clippers specifically because they understood that his value transcended traditional statistics. Paul's basketball IQ, his ability to control pace and make crucial decisions, remained elite even as his body showed every one of its 40 years. The reunion carried emotional weight that numbers couldn't capture. Paul's original Clippers tenure had ended in disappointment, with injury and bad luck derailing what should have been championship runs. Now, more than a decade later, he had one final chance to complete unfinished business. The question wasn't whether his legs could carry him through an entire season. It was whether his mind could elevate teammates when physical gifts failed. CP3's presence also solved a crucial depth problem. With Leonard's injury history and Harden's own durability concerns, the Clippers needed a backup point guard who could maintain their system during inevitable absences. Paul represented insurance against disaster, a player whose experience could steady the ship when younger players panicked under pressure. No one saw it coming, but the health lottery became Uncle Nation's defining characteristic. While Brook Lopez had managed to average 79 games over the previous 3 seasons, showing remarkable durability for a 7-footer in his late 30s, and James Harden had maintained 70-plus game availability, the roster's foundation remained terrifyingly fragile. Bradley Beal's 4-year streak of missing significant time couldn't be ignored. Kawhi Leonard's March disappearances had become as predictable as the playoffs themselves. Chris Paul's 40-year-old body carried decades of basketball wear. The Clippers had assembled a collection of players whose medical charts read like a cautionary tale about athletic longevity. Yet somehow this fragility had become their strength. Instead of pretending injuries wouldn't happen, the Clippers built their entire system around managing them. Deep bench rotations, flexible position assignments, load management protocols, everything designed to survive the inevitable breakdown of aging bodies. The strategy forced a brutal admission: championship teams aren't just about talent, they're about availability. The most skilled roster in basketball means nothing if key players disappear during crucial moments. Uncle Nation represented an acceptance of this reality and a systematic approach to overcoming it. But everything still revolves around one man's knees. Kawhi Leonard remains the fulcrum around which every Clippers decision balances. His health determines whether Uncle Nation becomes a championship breakthrough or an expensive cautionary tale. The elaborate load management protocols, the new arena, the veteran signings, all of it means nothing if Leonard's body fails him again when playoffs arrive. The Clippers have created the NBA's most expensive and risky championship experiment. They've bet everything on the idea that basketball wisdom can overcome physical decline, that careful management can extend championship windows, and that one injury-prone superstar can somehow defy his own medical history. Uncle Nation represents either revolutionary team building or the most spectacular failure in franchise history. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about mortality, legacy, and the cruel mathematics of athletic decline. The Clippers have assembled a group of players racing against time, fighting their own bodies for one final chance at championship glory. Whether they're geniuses or fools won't be determined until next June, when we discover if experience truly trumps youth or if Father Time remains undefeated. The clock is ticking on Uncle Nation. Every game, every practice, every minute of rest becomes crucial in a grand experiment that will either validate the power of veteran leadership or serve as a reminder that in professional sports, age eventually wins every battle. The Clippers have made their choice. Now we wait to see if their aging stars can deliver one final miracle, or if this becomes the most expensive lesson about the limits of human endurance in sports history.